Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Seattle officials seem shocked. Nobody's using the convention center. Gee, why is it losing money? Can't figure that one out. But before we get to any of that, I think we really have to discuss our governor, Bob Ferguson.
Yeah, it's not my name.
All right, Turd Ferguson.
He had a post today that sent me into the absolute atmosphere. Given everything we've been covering on the show, given everything you know about what's going on here in Washington State, I want you to listen to this and try not to drive your car off the road. This was posted today. It's a picture of him, his wife, and his daughter. His daughter is a softball player, and he often posts about his daughter being a softball player. Quote, "I am a proud softball dad. Softball has been a significant part of my daughter Katie's life, and she's going to play at the collegiate level next year. This was a big year for women's sports in Washington. We saw a historic and inspiring performance from the UW women's soccer team. We also welcomed the Seattle Torrent to the Professional Women's Hockey League. Happy Girls and Women in Sports Day! Thanks to the many girls and women who have broken barriers to make sports more accessible to all." Now I know what all of you are thinking. The absolute gaslighting on this post. It's insane. We literally have an initiative signed by close to 500,000 of you to protect women's sports because he won't, because he didn't, because he refuses to, because his daughter goes to private school and she doesn't have to deal with these problems yet. Hasn't had to deal with these problems that we know about. When she goes to college, for all we know, Turd Ferguson's daughter may be the next Riley Gaines. What if she has to go head-to-head with some pitcher who's a dude who's throwing 90-mile-an-hour softballs, underhanded? By the way, those girls can pitch. I'm not the biggest fan of softball, but watching those women fire those rockets in at you, that's horrifying. Now imagine a dude doing it. Bob Ferguson doesn't care about your daughters. He just cares about his daughter. But when I read it again, I couldn't figure out if he's gaslighting us, if he actually has a different definition of terms than we do, or if something else is happening here, and I want to know what you think. Let me give you the theories. Number one, Bob Ferguson is trying to say, look how cool I am. I need some social media stuff today. Let me do a post of my daughter. Alternatively, Turd Ferguson has a different definition of women and girls than you or I do. We believe there is a boy, there is a girl, that little kid in Kindergarten Cop who tells Arnold Schwarzenegger the life advice, that kid knows what he's talking about. But Bob Ferguson believes that trans women are women. So when he says, thanks to the many girls and women who have broken barriers to make sports more accessible to all, perhaps I'm doing too Talmudic an analysis of what he's saying here, but perhaps he actually means that. Perhaps he literally means that. And he considers dudes women just because they identify as women. Or could it be number three? What's behind door number three? Do you think that he realizes how much trouble he's in over this? Yesterday, there was a rally in Olympia. A few hundred people showed up, organized by our friends over at Let's Go Washington. Our friend Brandy Cruz was there, and you had a whole host of celebrity guests out there. And they were talking about women's sports. They had the girl athletes that we've been talking to, that we've had on the show, that we've been collecting signatures to help them out. Their parents were there. It was a beautiful event. I actually had FOMO. I really wanted to be at this event. I couldn't because the event started at 2:30 and I go on air at 3. So I couldn't be there yesterday. But I watched every single video that came out of it. I watched all the testimony from the Capitol. And I'll tell you something, I think we're starting to see a change. And I think Bob Ferguson is trying to play both sides because this is an issue that doesn't just resonate with Republicans. This is an issue that resonates with some moderate Democrats as well. Of course, a boy is a boy. Of course, a girl is a girl. What are you talking about, Turd Ferguson? And when Brandy Cruz, before this session, asked Bob Ferguson about the trans issue, he just said, oh, you're obsessed with trans. You're obsessed with trans. But that's because he's defensive because he knows he's vulnerable on this. You may have these really, really loud progressives who say a boy can become a girl, but they're not the majority even here in Washington State. Yesterday, our friend Matt Gilbert was out at the rally, and he sent me a picture of the counter-protest in Olympia. The counter-protester was one person. I posted it up on social media so you can see it for yourself. This person is wearing a Handmaid's Tale robes, the whole red thing, a V for Vendetta mask, and waving a flag that I don't recognize, that I actually did a Google image search to find, and then I plugged it into ChatGPT, couldn't find it that way, used 3 other AIs to try and identify this flag. What is it? It's black and white stripes with a trans LGBTQA looking thing on it. Couldn't find it. Couldn't find it. Found variations of it. And what it might be is a pride flag for people of color, maybe with some anarchy thrown in, which, by the way, you can get a custom flag designed for whatever you want. I know that. I've ordered custom flags before for special occasions. Yes, I'm a weirdo like that. So, I don't know what the hell this thing means, but one lone protester standing there. No Antifa, nobody else. I guess maybe Starbucks hadn't closed yet, so maybe they couldn't come on out to the Capitol yesterday. Maybe that's what was going on. Or maybe they've used up too many days protesting because they want, a higher minimum wage or whatever it is. Or do you think it's just Bob Ferguson getting under our skin here? Because you don't have this massive opposition. And when people talk, like one of the mayoral candidates who was up from L.A., you had her up here yesterday. Don't forget why she got involved. She got involved because she goes to a gym and there was a dude in her locker room. It is crazy to me that if a dude pulls down his pants in a public park, he's a sex offender, but if he pulls down his pants in a girl's locker room, he's a hero to the left. Same behavior, different circumstances, and yet one of them, the left says this dude's a hero, which is beyond crazy, by the way. Beyond crazy. So yesterday, we had students speaking on the steps of the Capitol. I want you to hear what these girls had to say because they don't have the benefit of having the governor as their father. Listen to what they said yesterday on the Capitol steps.
Just both of them.
Okay. Perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Annalie Wilson. I'm a student at Eastmont High School, and I'm currently a sophomore. And in May of 2024, I stood on a podium and was handed this second place ribbon while a boy stood above me and was awarded first place. That moment wasn't just about a race. It wasn't just about losing. It was the moment my family and I realized that this was deeply wrong. It was the moment that I understood that fairness, safety, and respect were being taken away from girls, and that it could happen to any girl. I didn't know it then, but this ribbon represented the beginning of my courage.
Yay!
I've always been the quiet girl. I don't like attention, and I don't like to stand out. But that race changed me. It was the moment I stopped being silent. The moment I realized my voice mattered. I never imagined I would be standing here, having to ask leaders, lawmakers, and adults to fight for me, for my friends, and for girls all across Washington State.
Exactly. We've really gone backwards since the 1970s, haven't we now? Now, you may think, okay, the kid stood up, and isn't that nice? Isn't that great? Maybe she lost a race. Okay. Do you realize what she was dealing with behind the scenes? Her mother spoke. They had these listening sessions at the Capitol yesterday, packed, jam-packed, filled with people talking about how to save women's sports, why parental rights are important. This is Annalie's mother talking yesterday.
She didn't lash out. She didn't accuse. She tried to make sense of something that was deeply wrong. When she eventually found the courage to say that the situation was unfair, she was met with anger. My daughter has been publicly called a sore loser, whiny, and I won't sugarcoat this. She has been repeatedly called a whore and a bitch. These words were directed at a teenage girl, and on top of that, she has received threats for her life.
That's what that girl got for standing up and saying, I want to protect women's sports. Bet you Bob Ferguson's daughter doesn't have to go through that, and no kid should have to go through that. But I actually think the tides are changing. I actually think there's a course correction going on here because of how unpopular this is. From the New York Post, a 22-year-old woman who identified as a boy in her teens won a $2 million decision in a landmark lawsuit against New York doctors accused of pushing a double mastectomy on her when she was a minor. Fox Varian had the life-altering surgery when she was just 16 years old, getting approval from a psychologist and a surgeon, both of whom a jury found liable for medical malpractice on January 30th. Varian, now 22 and considered a detransitioner, was awarded $1.6 million for past and future pain and suffering, and an additional $400,000 for future medical expenses. In the first detransitioner malpractice lawsuit in the nation to go to trial and win. Psychologist Kenneth Einhorn and surgeon Simon Chin were held responsible in Westchester County Supreme Court in White Plains, my old stomping grounds, for ignoring standards of care and procedural guardrails by pressuring the minor into addressing gender dysphoria with permanent surgery. Lawyers for Varian pointed the finger at Einhorn, who said he drove the train and was putting the idea in Fox's head that she needed to change her gender with surgery. Varian's mother testified that she was against the surgery but consented to it out of fear her daughter would commit suicide. So there is no science that backs up these surgeries at all, and a jury found that. Now, right after this verdict, literally right after this verdict, what happens? You had multiple medical groups saying, yeah, we don't recommend trans surgeries anymore. Do you realize how backwards this used to be? Kevin, you know, we had episodes taken off of our video stream because we mentioned the trans stuff, because we were critical of the trans stuff. I think it got me one of my strikes on Facebook one time. It just hit me, and all of a sudden the platform was not demonetized at the time. What was it? It was throttled at the time where it wasn't showing stuff. Twitter was banning my posts. YouTube was taking down my videos. Anytime we mentioned trans stuff on the show, it was just being taken down and taken down and taken down. Then after the American Society of Plastic Surgeons came out against gender-affirming surgeries for anybody under 19 years old, after that happens, you know what happened? The American Medical Association says, we're out. Quote, the evidence for gender-affirming surgical intervention in minors is insufficient for us to make a definitive statement. The AMA agrees with ASPS that surgical interventions in minors should be generally deferred to adulthood. The organization added that it supports evidence-based treatments, including other types of so-called gender-affirming care for minors. This is a change from past positions. So beforehand, it was, we have no evidence, but we're going to push it anyway. And we all said this is absolutely crazy. And we showed medical proof at the time. For example, there is body dysmorphia. There is gender dysmorphia. These are real things. But you don't treat them by cutting things off. You don't make a person healthier by cutting things out. Even when you have a tumor removed, other things go with it. It's the last option, not the first option. It's not what you try to do first. It's what you have to do to save somebody's life. In this case, there are other things you can do because we've been talking about this being a mental health problem the entire time. Do you think Bob Ferguson is gaslighting all of us? Or do you think Bob Ferguson just needed a social media post? Or, door number 3, do you think that Bob Ferguson sees the writing on the wall? Yesterday, when they announced the massive income tax, what happened? He said, well, I'm not really happy with this yet. And why are they pushing it to 2029 so he can run for re-election in 2028 and say, what do you mean? I don't see any income tax anywhere, and hope you forget about it before his next term when it actually kicks in. This is who Bob Ferguson is. He's a political animal. Do you think he's gaslighting? Do you think he's rubbing everybody's face in this after yesterday? Do you think he just needed a social media post? Or do you think he's starting to see the writing on the wall? Because so many of you showed up for that rally yesterday. Kudos for being there, because people like me couldn't be there. But also so many of you signed the Let's Go Washington initiatives. to protect girls' sports. Bob Ferguson can talk about women's sports all he wants. Everybody who signed those pieces of paper, everybody who went to that rally, everybody who collected signatures, everybody who gave money to Let's Go Washington, you are more of a feminist and did more to protect women's sports than Bob Ferguson ever did. And you know who did the most? Aside from the folks at Let's Go Washington who have been championing this issue, those girls risking their social lives, risking their reputations. And you know their names are Googleable, so when they apply for jobs down the road, that's going to be something that their employer sees. And they'll either respect it, depending on what politics are like at the time, or they're going to say, we don't want that. Those girls put themselves out there. Bob Ferguson, his daughter should have to compete in the same leagues where these girls have to compete and have to go up against the same things they do, because it's ridiculous to me that Democrats like Bob Ferguson don't have to live under the same policies they push for everybody else. So once again, what do you think? You think it was just a social media post? Do you think Bob Ferguson is gaslighting all of us? Or do you think he's starting to see the writing on the wall of the changing course? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from our friend Anna B., who has been a rock star out of the Capitol. Anna, what's going on?
Hey, Ari. I honestly think Bob Ferguson is gaslighting us. This is the same governor who will have meetings with I believe it's the UW soccer women's league, and we'll have other meetings with girls around that area. But when it comes to Annalee or to Francis Stout, he hasn't responded to any of the requests, because when I was actually down at the Capitol yesterday,
Good for you.
I actually testified in support in the House listening session. So that was pretty cool.
I saw the video. It was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so proud of my youngest. He did amazing. He's so patient with his mother, because, oh my God.
That's that little boy I met at that event, right?
Yeah, the one who was just like, hi.
Oh, you mean the one who treated me like a jungle gym? I liked that kid. He was adorable. I went home and said to my wife, I met the cutest kid ever after that event. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's just the sweetest boy. And honestly, like, I give props to Annalee and to Francis for how brave they've been. You know, I can't imagine the treatment that they're receiving just as teenagers. I mean, like, we're all adults here. We should not be lowering ourselves to that kind of treatment to kids who are not even our age yet people are literally downgrading themselves by degrading these girls who just want the same fairness as anybody else does.
Yep.
When it comes to sports. I mean, I'm a high school athlete myself, so I mean, I completely understand where they're coming from.
Well, I'll tell you this.
It's not fair to them.
No, it's not at all. I mean, I use the line from Greece, right? If you can't be an athlete, be an athletic supporter. So I'm an athletic supporter. Yeah. Wait a minute. I just realized what I said there. Yeah, you're 100% right, is that it's not just the girls who are competing. And I actually told this story the other night at an event we had for Let's Go Washington, where I said, you know, I think these girls are fighting for my daughter. My daughter doesn't do this to compete. She just does it for fun, or she does it for credits. And these girls are fighting for people like my daughter. And really, you know, I am grateful to these teenagers for putting themselves out there to do this.
I mean, these are the same girls that are begging Bob Ferguson to come talk to them, and he has yet to have an open, honest conversation with them, or even listen to them for that matter. Like, he'll go and have meetings with other girls from his alma mater, but he can't listen to two high school girls who have a passion for women's sports.
Yeah.
And yet he's the one like putting his daughter on a platform. I mean, like, any parent would want to put their child on a platform with the success that they've had. You know, like, if Katie was my daughter, I would want to do the same thing. But you can't be in support of women's sports if you can only focus on one political aspect and then and then completely gaslight and ignore the other half that's like, hey, like, this is what's happening, this is what's going on. Why can't you just meet us in the middle and actually have an honest conversation with us?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like,
they're not interested in that at all. They're not interested. They don't want to because they want to push forward with their agenda because their radical base is in favor of all this. Anna, thank you for testifying at the Capitol. Thank you for being a rock star. Thank you for being there when so many of us couldn't be. Appreciate the call today. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, why is nobody using the Seattle Convention Center they just dropped millions of dollars on? Gee, that's a real head scratcher. That plus your calls when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KDI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, I want you to be my guest at State of the Union. That's right. We are going to watch the State of the Union together on February 24th, and we are going to enjoy delicious steaks, New York style, my friends, from Daniel's Broiler, plus appetizers, salads, desserts. I'm sure there will be alcohol, too. It'll be great. But we are going to fill that room very, very quickly, so I need you to go and sign up right now so you don't miss out. Head on over to kvi.com. That's kvi.com. And guys, what a great date night. Post-Valentine's Day, you go wherever she wants, right on Valentine's Day. After Valentine's Day, you go, honey, we're going to go watch a live broadcast of the Ari Hoffman Show. He's going to have some friends there. We're going to get some steak. It's going to be great. So you do whatever she wants for Valentine's Day. And then afterwards you say, hey, sweetie, would you mind if we went to this Ari Hoffman Show event? And then when she says, oh, I'm not, you say, no, babe. Okay, we did the thing for Valentine's Day, right? We did the thing. Don't say that. You want to stay married. Don't say that. But say, hey, wouldn't it be great? I'll take you out for a steak dinner at Daniel's Broiler in Bellevue.
I was going to say, hey, let's go out to dinner.
Let's go out to dinner. And then you show up and, oh, my God, there's a radio show. And look, the president's on TV.
Wow.
And, wait, isn't that Ari Hoffman? Holy cow. Look at this. Isn't this great?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's how you do it. So head on over to kvi.com right now. That's kvi.com. Sign up for State of the Union. I know a whole bunch more sign-ins sign-ups came in last night. You don't want to miss out, especially when we start announcing our special guests. You want to say, ha-ha, I got this before they announce the special guests, because everybody else is going to be out of luck. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Marty in Auburn. Marty, what's up?
This has been kind of an interesting journey over the last couple of years. I've called in and talked to you a couple of times beforehand, but when you look at who is the Speaker of the House, Lori Jenkins, and then you look at Jamie Peterson, who leads the Senate, and then you look at Ryan Mello, who's the Pierce County executive, they are all devout members of the LGBTQ community and so forth. And any of this kind of stuff that hits the legislature and so forth, it's the first thing that, comes up in the vote, and they steer all that kind of legislation through. So it's not surprising that they're kind of balking at, men and women's sports, because this is the nature of their behavior. This is what they've been practicing for years.
Well, actually, let me play a little, I don't want to say devil's advocate, because we have plenty of people in our audience who identify with parts of that community for a second, but let me just put this out there for a second. There are a lot of people in the LGB community who don't like the T community. And they say, why are you attaching your thing to us? You should do your own thing. Now, there are extreme members of the LGB community, and that's Jenkins, and that's Peterson, and that's Mello, and all those folks. They're very, very extreme members where they're like, no, everybody's under the umbrella, and we're going to do all this kind of stuff. But most of the people I know who identify that way say, we don't know where this T stuff came from, and don't loop us in with the rest of them. I've actually gotten feedback on the show about that for people who love the show, and they say, Ari, stop putting us all together, okay? There's us who do this, and there's them. Now, mind you, the Democrats in this state, the extremists, are all part of the radical ideology. And the problem is here, they're worried about ticking off their base, especially because trans Tifa shows up anytime they go a different direction, even in the slightest bit. I think that Jamie Peterson is, of course, an extremist. We've seen what we've heard and seen what he has said about 13-year-old girls. Lori Jenkins is no better. She loses her mind about everything. Mello, I don't know as well. But I will say this, Marty, you're right. When you have those people as gatekeepers, nothing's going to change, and you're stuck with it.
Well, I think the biggest challenge is the fact that most people that, are pretty open-minded don't have an issue with what people do in the privacy of their own home. But when you go out in the public and shove it in their faces, now all of a sudden you create that antagonism that causes people to have, the wrong opinion. Yeah,
I completely agree with you. Marty, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Now, switching gears over to what's happening in Seattle. So the Seattle Convention Center is apparently having money issues, but they're claiming, well, it's our reserves. We're full all the time. Kevin, how many conventions do you see out here at the Seattle Convention Center, aside from Comic-Con?
I don't see any.
That's right.
I saw one event that was on TV that was being advertised as being at the convention center, and I thought, oh yeah, they hold other things there other than Comic-Con?
Yeah.
Because I really don't hear a lot.
We don't. And also, we know that Microsoft just moved its conference out of town after all the shenanigans last year. We know that other conferences are not coming to town. Gee, I wonder why they're having financial issues. Kevin, if I could load up the DeLorean, hop in the time machine, and go back in time, you know what would happen? We'd go back to an Ari Hoffman show episode 4 years ago, before they did this whole expansion project of the Seattle Convention Center. And I said, what's it going to be like when they said they're done with this thing 3-4 years from now? You think the homeless problem is going to get better or worse? And this was with Bruce Harrell. I go, it ain't getting better anytime soon. You guys are going to blow all this money, and you're going to have a giant empty convention center. You might as well turn it into a homeless shelter. You'd be better off doing that. Send all the conventions out to Bellevue. And it looks like I was 100% right. Also, something I was 100% right on, there is an email sitting in my inbox right now. This is going to take a whole segment when we come back. An exclusive story from the Ari Hoffman show, because I found out who a truck driver was that we all assumed who he was. ICE literally just got back to me. Holy cow, this is going to go viral and national. We'll tell you what it is when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just want to remind everybody about Stake of the Union. That's right, my friends. Your chance to hang out with me, see a live broadcast of the show. And by the way, I am so much better live than I am on the radio because then I get to interact with you. I make jokes at your expense. You can make them about my hairline. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. But you also get to enjoy a steak dinner from Daniel's Broiler. And Kevin, you've been to this thing before because this predates me. Was this everybody's favorite event back before Ari Hoffman showed up?
I think so.
Yeah. Pretty awesome.
It's really popular and the food's great and it's always fun.
I'm excited.
It's always fun.
I'm excited.
By the way, you're live right now too. You said I'm better live than on the radio.
I meant I'm better in person. In person.
We are live
we are
right
live.
now.
Unlike other shows which are pre-recorded so people can be on TV. Other than that, we are always live here at the Ari Hoffman Show.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. Unless Ari's got to run somewhere. But yes, most of the time. We're always live. Well, my friends, I promised you an Ari Hoffman Show exclusive. Here you go right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI, an Ari Hoffman Show exclusive.
All right. Do you remember back on January 17th? On January 17th, it was a Saturday night, and a giant semi-truck was driving. And this giant semi-truck plowed into a snowplow. Yes, that was intentional. It plowed right into a Washington State Patrol snowplow. And the driver was arrested for DUI. Now, I went to the jail records. Actually, a KVI listener sent me a link to the jail records that said, here's your guy. And I go, you're right. That is my guy, wonderful KVI listener. Thank you very much for that tip. Do appreciate it. We have the best audience ever here at KVI. And what happened? I said, I can't pronounce that name. That is not a name I can pronounce. I wonder if they're an immigrant. I wonder if they're in this country legally. So what do? I reach out to the Kittitas County people, and I say, hey, guys, would you mind sending me all the police records? And they said, well, you got to talk to the Washington State Patrol. No problem, Washington State Patrol, Kittitas County. Can I have all the records of this incident? Sure, Ari Hoffman. Here you go. File a public disclosure. That delayed it a week, 2 weeks. Where are we now? Okay, so I got it back pretty speedily. Now I have the dude's address. I have where the dude's from, and I have his birthday. To file a request with ICE, you need the birthday, you need the address, you need the name, and then they can find out if this person is in the country legally or not. Just a few days ago, I got all the information. I sent it over to my friends at ICE. Good afternoon, Ari. Here is a statement from an ICE spokesperson. ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations, Seattle, lodged an immigration detainer January 18th with the Kittitas County Jail for Nursultan Rizbekov. Oh, I can pronounce it. Okay. An illegal alien who was charged with DUI by the Washington State Patrol following a collision on I-90 January 17th. Under President Trump and Secretary Noem, if you break the law, you will face the consequences. Criminal illegal aliens are not welcome in the U.S. Quote, those who are here illegally can take control of their departure with the CBP Home app. The United States is offering illegal aliens $2,600 and a free flight to self-deport now. We encourage every person here illegally to take advantage of this offer and reserve the chance to come back to the U.S. the right way, the legal way to live the American dream. If not, you will be arrested and deported without a chance to return. Learn more at this link. So what you are telling me is that the illegal... Oh, sorry. Wait. Let me back this up. Let me do this again. What you are telling me is that the guy who was driving a semi-truck drunk in the middle of the night on I-90 and crashed into a snowplow that was treating the ground was an illegal alien? Okay, now here's something else, guys. You're going to say, where was he from, Ari? Where was he from? Was he from Washington? Was he from Washington? No. Okay. Was he from California? No. Wait, we got a new place here, guys. Guess where he got his license from? You ready for this one? Illinois, another blue state that's giving commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens. That's right, my friends. Well, you know what I'm going to do after the show today? Beep, bop, boop, boop, beep, boop. Hello, Washington State Patrol. It's Ari Hoffman. Hey, how you doing? Oh, no, him again. Hey, guys, how you doing? Are you going to honor the detainer request? Hey, Kittitas County Jail, are you going to honor the detainer request? Hey, prosecutor, are you going to prosecute this guy? What do you want to bet he's already gone? What do you want to bet he already flew the coop? Then I got something else. Beep, bop, boop, beep, bop, bop, bop. Hey, Department of Transportation. Hey, your guy was almost killed by an illegal alien. Do you have a statement on this? Hey, Governor Turd Ferguson. Oh, I'll be nice. Governor Bob Ferguson. One of your employees was almost killed by an illegal alien because one of them was a while ago. Remember that guy, Officer Trooper Christopher Gadd, who was killed by an illegal alien? It almost happened again. Do you have a statement for us on this? Hey, Attorney General Nick Brown. Do you have a statement on the fact that one of your employees was almost killed by an illegal alien? Are you going to be going after him for damages for the snowplow? We have a budget crisis right now. That thing was totaled. Who's paying for the snowplow? I would love to know what insurance is on a snowplow, by the way. Do you think this guy has already flown the coop? Do you think he has already flown the coop? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757.
Oh, yeah.
See, he knows. That's right. Which one do you think it is? Unbelievable, yet so not unbelievable. Is anybody surprised about this? Of course not. Of course you're not surprised. Now, mind you, here's a clip I've just been wanting to play for you. So you know how around here we talk about the homeless a lot? Apparently, a California school board member during testimony the other day was very, very upset because somebody used the word homeless. In fact, it was triggering to them. I wonder what she'd say about me making fun of illegal aliens like I just did just there. I wonder what she'd say about that, because here's what she said about the homeless. You ready for this one?
I have a lot to say, and I will speak plainly, and you may not like it. I am personally offended by what was presented on so many different levels. One thing I would like to see updated is the word homeless to unhoused. I'm not done.
Can I
Okay, you're done. You're done, lady, because that was too. I'm offended by the word homeless. I want to send her a clip of the last segment I just did making fun of the illegal alien truck driver and see if she's offended by that. I think that would be a lot of fun. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Speaking of illegal aliens, a whole bunch of people now want to live in Billie Eilish's house. We'll tell you what's going on since her comments at the Grammys when we come back, plus more of your calls and more of your texts. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Why am I talking about the State of the Union so much? Because I'm really excited about this event. I'm really excited. I really want you to be there with me. Head on over to kvi.com right now. Sign up to join me for a live broadcast of the Ari Hoffman Show at Daniel's Broiler out in Bellevue. You're going to get great steak. You're going to get great food. It's going to be great. Plus, you're going to see some great celebrity guests we got lined up for this thing. We're going to surprise them by announcing them a little. Not surprise them. Surprise you. They know they're coming. We're going to surprise you with who they are once we confirm a couple little things here and there. But it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. Head on over to kvi.com right now. Sign up for Stake of the Union. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Josh in Federal Way. Josh, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, Ari?
Good. What's up, man?
So, who's bonding these guys out of jail? If he gets arrested for a DUI hitting Washington State snowplow with a semi-truck, I'm sure there's a bond, a bail set. I mean, so how's he able to flee, and who's bonding these guys out?
Good question. So let's go through the options, because that's something I'm now going to write down. And I'm going to make sure I look into it tonight, find out who's paying these things, if that information's available. First of all, I think the trucking company has an incentive to get that guy out of there as soon as possible, so that way they don't find out what else is going on there. I think that's probably likely.
Illegal?
Oh, yeah, because they don't want this guy telling them what they know about the company. They have an incentive to get him out of there because they know blue states will never go after him. So that's number one. Number two is, don't forget, there's activist groups that will bail people out. Number three, there is their friends and family to get them out of jail and flee them to another country. Right? If this guy is out already, he's probably long gone. In fact, over on the text line, it seems like a lot of you think this guy's gone. Becky Needham-Claw says he's a free bird. Jeff and Kent says the truck driver's in the wind. What do you think, Josh?
Oh, yeah, in Washington, he's gone.
Yeah.
He was out that night or the next morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so
it's crazy. I mean, I wish I had friends that would pay that bond out if I hit a snowplow in the middle of the night on I-90. I mean, those are good friends.
Those are good friends.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, those are really good friends. Yeah, you almost killed somebody, and yet there you are, unbelievable.
There you are.
Yeah.
Next day out having breakfast. Right?
Exactly. No big deal. No big deal. So what, you
right.
damaged somebody's truck. You have a good one, Josh. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one here from Becky and Enumclaw. She also says, Ari, I think we should start making a running list of all the new words coming out. You said unhoused. There's also triggered, disappeared, and reimagine. I'm sure there's a lot more, but I just roll my eyes whenever I hear any of these words. Yes, I do the same thing for unsheltered, because I love how some of the unsheltered are actually sheltered. They just don't like where they're sheltered. I understand that. Whole bunch of crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy. This one here from Larry Magnolia. He says, Ari, what do the mothers from MAD have to say about this? The Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Haven't heard from them in years. What happened to those T-shirts? They used to have that Dare. Dare and MAD were the two that went together with McGruff, the crime dog. Only you. No, that's Forest Fires. What was it? Take a bite out of crime. That was him.
I remember Dare would always show up before video games.
Yes.
The logo would show up before you play, like, Narcs or whatever in the arcade.
Yes, Marvel versus Capcom. Yeah. Dare shows up, right? One of those things always showed up. Well, now people are showing up at Billie Eilish's house. So she's got this $12 million estate, and people are showing up because, don't forget, at the Grammys, she was talking about how there's no such thing as an illegal person on stolen land or whatever. She's got a really big fence for somebody who doesn't believe in walls and border control. And now, actually, you have the tribe whose house it is built on calling her out and saying, hey, give us the house, lady. This is from Fox News.
Billie Eilish, she says America's just made up all this land that was taken unjustly from people, but is the singer also living on stolen land is the question. Well, according to a local tribe out in California, she built her mansion on property that belongs to Native Americans. We talked to the Tongva tribe out in Southern Cal who says she's living on their property, saying this in part, as the first people of the greater Los Angeles basin, we do understand that her home is situated on our ancestral land. Eilish hasn't contacted her tribe directly regarding her property. So back in 2020, comedian Ricky Gervais was ahead of this. He said, please do not get up here and use the stage as a platform for politics, saying in part, you're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. Now mocking Grammy winners because he said they're doing it again, saying they're still not listening.
Exactly right.
You got to realize, though, that these are special people, and the rules don't apply to them. I keep forgetting you to tell. You got to remind
the
everyone.
specials.
She makes pretty noises with her voice.
I don't know about that. I don't like her music.
And there are people out there who play act really, really well. And they are so much higher on another level than us that our understanding is limited.
That's what it is.
Just a reminder to everyone out there.
I see.
Okay? So this doesn't apply. She's special.
I see. Yes, those people who run the hockey team, they're special too. Because before every game, they say, we need to acknowledge that our stadium is built on the Coast Salish, the historic heritage land, whatever they say, of the Coast Salish people. Then give them the team.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We're still going to play our game tonight.
Right. Which is even worse. Like, we're going to acknowledge it. All right, we acknowledged it. Good. All right, let's play hockey and make a gajillion dollars off your ancestral stolen land. When we come back, my friends, more of your calls, more of your texts. Plus, do any of these kids know why they're actually walking out of school? Or it's just we enjoy the free period? Talk about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, representatives from the tech community will be swinging by, talk to us about how all these crazy taxes are going to affect them. But before we get to any of that, my friends, we go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from our frenemy, Bennett, the protester. Bennett, what's going on?
What is it with you and Billie Eilish? You just will not leave my girl alone. You're saying, oh, she hates Jews, and she was wearing a pin for Hamas to support the killing of Jews.
I didn't say that today. I said that yesterday. That's like 2 days ago. You're behind the times here, Bennett. Me personally, I don't even like her music, so I don't really care one way or the other.
Well, I don't think it was true 2 days ago either. But the big song that put her on the map was actually produced by her brother, by the way. Nobody knows that, but I haven't seen what size of a mansion he lives in. He's probably over there like, you know, that
There's
thing
multiple
that
houses there, Bennett. There's multiple houses. I got the aerial view, which everybody in the news now has now, and a lovely swimming pool. It looks lovely. It's charming. It's charming.
Okay, but if we put you in a chair and gave you a polygraph test and asked you, does Billie Eilish hate Jews? You are under oath, you're being polygraphed. Do you actually believe that is a true sentence?
Bennett, let me ask you a question. Do you normally wear bloody... No. This is my response.
I will answer yours.
This is my response.
Billie Eilish hate Jews. Yes or no?
I don't wear bloody handprints of Palestinians on me, do I? Do I? You ever see me wear bloody handprints of Palestinians on my clothing, especially to a formal occasion? Do I ever do that? Okay. Billie Eilish literally did that. She literally did that last year. So, yes, I believe she actually does, or she's too stupid to know the difference of what she's putting on her clothes, which is probably more likely.
People look this up. She wore a pin from an organization called Artists for Ceasefire. They specifically said the pin was to support the release of the Israeli hostages.
What's the symbol of the pin, Bennett? What's the symbol of the pin?
It's a circle with a heart inside an orange hand and inside a red circle.
It's a red hand, not an orange hand. And what is it a symbol of, Bennett? Come on, say it with me. You know what it's a symbol of.
In your head. If an organization says we're making a pin to support a ceasefire
in
Gaza,
give me a break. The Somali
Israeli
day schools say they have kids in them. You said you called with breaking news, not Billie Eilish. What did you actually want to argue about today?
Okay, can you do the breaking news drop? I love the sound of that.
Is this real breaking news, Bennett, or is this? You have to really earn it, Bennett. This has to be real, okay? Otherwise, you lose the privileges, okay? You get one chance at this. Here we go. All right, we're gonna do this for you right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
Here with breaking news is our frenemy, Bennett the protester. Bennett, give it a go.
You suck. I'm kidding. I do have a story. The judge in the federal case involving the protesters outside the ICE building, he just issued a restraining order saying they cannot use the pepper spray and the pepper balls and the munitions on peaceful protesters anymore. So that video, the ACLU had me file the declaration that they used as evidence, the one of the girl staying there and talking to the agent.
In Portland. You're talking about in Portland.
Yeah,
you got to be specific. The one in Portland. Bennett, can you do me a favor? Can you send me the documents that you're allowed to send me that are not private or anything like that? Can you send me the public documents regarding this case to my email address or my Twitter?
Yeah, Katie Davis Court just tweeted it out. She sent the link. She did a story for the Post Millennial. Katie Davis Court, as their usual practice, said the judge said that Trump is an authoritarian regime.
Well, wait a second. Hang on. Did the judge say that, Bennett?
No, he didn't. The judge said there are certain things that happen in democracies. There are certain things that happen in authoritarian regimes. Our country is currently at a crossroads. So he very specifically says we're at a crossroads. We're not there yet.
I see.
Katie Davis Court
we can choose like the Scarecrow in Wizard of Oz to go one way or the other is what you are saying. Well, Bennett, make sure you send that. I'll check out the Post Millennial website. I got access to the server. I'll see what's going on there. Appreciate the heads up, buddy. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show? You give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Speaking of what's going on with ICE, let's switch gears to stuff that's happening closer to home. I took another look at those videos of the protesters out at University of Washington that were there on Friday. And if you look closer, those aren't college kids. Those are high school kids. High school kids. Grade school kids. Middle school kids that came to University of Washington. Why are they going to the University of Washington to yell at the university? I'm a little confused. Is it now the protesters at University of Washington are weaponizing the middle schoolers and high schoolers too to be part of their agenda? Because that's kind of what it seems like to me. Have you noticed that everybody who's walking out this time, I'm not seeing a lot of college kids. I'm seeing the grade schoolers, I'm seeing the middle schoolers, I'm seeing the high schoolers. I have a really dark theory. I want to know what you guys think about this. I have a very, very, very dark theory, which is I don't think the college kids want to mess with the Trump administration. I think they realize after what happened this summer with the crackdowns, including the crackdowns outside the Portland facility, crackdowns locally here, I think they realize they're facing big boy time, actual felony charges. And I think they realized, wait, if we weaponize the kids, we can probably get away with more. I think that's what's going on. And I think they're saying, see, the children are our future. They're walking, the children are our future. You think they have any idea what they're doing? When I was a kid, there were a lot of rallies for a lot of different causes, and sometimes school would take us to them. And I remember sometimes I didn't especially care. Sometimes I'm just like, hey, I don't have to sit in class today. When you see these videos of kids walking out, you see kids walking on their cell phones, you see kids chatting with each other. And of course, I'm not going to say all the kids are out there just to ditch class. Some of them are true believers. And they've organized this thing, and they love being at the front of the line. Me, I love being the guy with the giant bass drum. Yes, in the Salute to Israel parade one year, they said, who wants to have the giant bass drum? And I said, me. And they said, Ari, have you ever played the drum before? I said, how hard can it be? You just go boom, 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 ba-doom, boom, boom. And you just do that the whole time you walk. And they said, okay, you're hired. And yes, I look like the giant Energizer bunny. Lots of fun. Had a role in that parade and everything. Hey, who wants to be on the float this year? I'll do it. Ari, can you sing a song? Sure. Put me up on, I'll sing in front of everybody in Manhattan. No problem. Put me up on that stage. Put me in, coach. I can do it. How many kids are just out there because they want to be the center of attention? How many kids are just out there because they actually believe in any of this? How many kids have no clue what they're marching for? How many kids have no clue at all? Well, now you look around and you see that a whole bunch of activist groups are behind this. Jonathan Cho was out at Newport High School today. Newport High School right out in Bellevue. And you see the kids marching out. And Jonathan Cho realized that this is all being tied back to some communist group that's pulling their strings, because it's always tied back to some communist group that's pulling their strings. He tries asking the staff about it. By the way, I want to note the staff was outside marching with the kids, and Jonathan Cho is asking them questions. They don't want to answer it. Here's another thing, legal liability. Do you realize how many problems you have with people being out on the streets during school hours? We've discussed this to death already. The school is on the hook if anything happens to you. If anything happens at all, the school is on the hook for what happens. Now, something that I find ironic about this is here in Washington State, you have all these Democrats in the Washington State legislature who are really, really mad about ICE, furious about ICE. We don't want them wearing masks. We're going to advance our bill so that way they can't hide their identities. And meanwhile, Nick Brown is forming a secret police. There's a great op-ed in the Center Square by Jay Fratt today. The title is The Dangers of AG Nick Brown's Agency Request Bills. The Attorney General wants to assemble a secretive force of investigators, including foreign visa holders, with expanded powers and hidden identities. In Washington State, this dystopian scenario isn't mere speculation. It's the potential reality brewing under a suite of bills requested by Washington Attorney General Nick Brown. These proposals, cloaked in the language of efficiency and inclusivity, could fundamentally reshape the balance of power typically towards an unaccountable executive branch at the expense of transparency and constitutional protections. The four bills in question, SB 5068, HB 2156, HB 2096, and HB 2161/Senate Bill 5925, form a coordinated package, with most originating from requests by Attorney General Nick Brown. On the surface, they appear benign, expanding hiring pools, clarifying investigative authorities, providing identity protections for investigators, and granting tools to probe constitutional violations, but dig deeper and a pattern emerges. SB 5068 opens law enforcement roles to foreign nationals on visas. HB 2156 grants new powers to AG investigators. HB 2096 shrouds them in secrecy. And HB 2161, with its Senate companion bill, Senate Bill 5925, arms the AG with broad civil investigative mandates. Together, they risk creating a clandestine enforcement arm within the AG's office, one that operates with minimal oversight, could be staffed by individuals whose allegiances are temporary, divided, or beholden. These bills threaten core principles of limited government, citizen primacy, and transparent governance. Our founding documents emphasize that power derives from the people, U.S. citizens who swear undivided loyalty to the Constitution. Yet these measures could erode that foundation, introducing foreign influence into sensitive state operations while amplifying the opacity already plaguing Washington's government. If passed by the legislature and signed by the governor, they threaten not just administrative overreach, but the potential targeting of ideological or political opponents. In a state where one party holds dominant control, the suite of bills creates the framework for a powerful, potentially partisan, secret force that could be weaponized against dissenters. Government should serve the people openly, not hide in the shadows, while expanding its grasp. Now, this is no secret to anybody that this kind of stuff is going on. Would you put it past any of these people? Do you remember these are the same people who want you to spy on your neighbors during COVID? And yet, I did a public disclosure request to see who was spying on me during COVID, and it was all people who disagreed with me politically or don't like me personally or were business competitors of mine. That's who was reporting on me. And in fact, I got the whole list. Oh, yeah, by the way, for my detractors who listen to the show, you know, anytime I get a detractor who's giving me a lot of trouble, I see if they were on the snitch list. And I'd say about half the time they are, just reporting whoever it was that they didn't like very, very much. Yeah, are you surprised by any of this? You know what else they're doing in the Washington State Legislature? They are trying to make sure that you don't get access to public documents. So you have to file a PDR, public disclosure request here in Washington. And a lot of times when you don't get the answer you want to a question from a government agency, you file a PDR. Sometimes it takes a month, sometimes it takes a week, sometimes it takes a year, sometimes it takes just a couple of days. But whatever the case may be, it usually takes a long time if they want to hide it from you. University of Washington takes a year. Takes a year because they hope you are not discussing this stuff in a year. So a year later, you get the stuff back from the University of Washington. I got the stuff back last summer for all the stuff from the summer before with the autonomous zone encampments and all that. That's when I got all that stuff back. Now Democrats are trying to make it harder for you to get public documents using legislative privilege. Legislative privilege, which says, no, that information is privileged. You know something that really, really bothers me? Do you know what executive session is? Anybody here who does Robert's Rules of Order, you can always move something into executive session, which is normally reserved for, well, hang on a second, guys. Hang on. Somebody's personal information is going to get out. We need to discuss this, but we don't really need this. We don't need to smear anybody. Can we go to executive session? It's meant for things like that. Hey, can we not put out this personal information? Now the Democrats are using it for whatever they want. The other day, the bill I testified on in Olympia where I didn't like something, the next time that bill came up, poof, executive session because they don't want Ari Hoffman showing up and discussing it. We've seen instances, which we've talked about on the show, of all of a sudden, somebody, a Democrat, breaks ranks. They go to executive session. That person comes back out. Nope, I agree with them. I agree with them. What did they threaten them with behind closed doors? Primarying them? Somebody running against them? No campaign money? This is the stuff that goes on in executive session now. It's just a way to try to hide. Because right now, they know there are just a few journalists who are actually doing their job. Do you know, by the way, I just found this out the other day. I just found this out the other night. So you know how I didn't get a Capitol press pass, right? They wouldn't give me one when I was down there in Olympia. They gave one to my wife, who works for a Jewish news outlet. They gave one to Zach, from my producer. They gave it to them, but they wouldn't give me one. I found out just the other day, Jonathan Cho was also denied a press pass from the House, and Brandy Cruz was also denied a press pass from the House. Now, this is Lori Jenkins's insanity. She's the Speaker of the House. She's the one who's denying all these press passes because they don't want us reporting on it. How many reporters are actually filing public disclosure requests? I can count them literally on one hand. Me, Jonathan Cho, Brandy Cruz, the Center Square. How many others? Very, very few others. Almost nobody else is, if any, in the state. I don't see the big boys doing it, right? None of the big news agencies are doing it. It's just us. Occasionally the Seattle Times does it. Okay, still on one hand. That's 5. Nobody's filing these. They're trying to make it harder because they don't want us knowing what they're up to. Like Senator Lisa Wellman. Let's not forget she had a bill which is dead for the time being and may come back. But Senator Lisa Wellman had that bill because she didn't want to talk about where all the money was going for the daycares. She wanted to hide where all the money was going for the daycares. They don't want to be transparent, and now you're talking about a secret police force. What's a secret police force going to be doing for the AG? Well, I say we just turn to the other Democrats and see what they're saying, what they want happening to ICE, what they want happening to people they disagree with. Here's Jerry Nadler. Thank God he's almost done with his time in office.
We could easily solve our balanced budget problems by simply repealing the taxes and the tax cuts on millionaires and billionaires enacted over the last 10 years. But what is really the major problem in this country today is the fascism in our streets. The attacks on American citizens by masked hoodlums. If you were attacked by a masked person, you might think you were being kidnapped. You'd be justified in shooting the person.
Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Did you just say shoot ICE agents? Did you just say shoot law enforcement if they're coming to arrest you? Is that what you're saying? All of a sudden, Democrats are in favor of the Second Amendment. Really incredible. Here's Eric Swalwell during a recent interview.
If you still work for them, that's a decision. And I'm saying, as a governor, I'm going to make a decision that you can't work in the state. I also am calling on every governor, use your emergency powers and take away the driver's licenses of these folks who don't want to wear or don't want to take off their masks.
Wait a second. Hang on a second. Why would Eric Swalwell be in favor of people coming here from other countries? For his little harem in his office? I'm sorry, alleged harem in his office? Yes. What was that woman's name again? Fang Fang? That's right. He had his little Chinese spy, Fang Fang. Can't imagine why Eric Swalwell would want people coming here from other countries. This is the Democrat mantra these days. This is what they're doing out on Capitol Hill. This is what they are doing. Here's Delia Ramirez in an absolutely unhinged rant about anybody who agrees with ICE is just a bunch of fascists.
We must have accountability, and we must bring justice to every fascist in the administration, and that includes Kristi Noem, that includes Stephen Miller, and that includes Tom Homan.
Yeah, let's go after all of them. We loved him when he worked for Barack Obama, but let's go after him now. Guys, the Democrats are saying literally what they want to do. They want their own version of police forces. They want their own stormtroopers. They're weaponizing the people on the streets until they get back the levers of power, and then they use them. Look, you literally had Tim Walz say he wanted to weaponize the National Guard against ICE. You literally had Katie Wilson say she wanted to send the police department after ICE. It's not that these guys don't like the police. They want the police working for them. They want law enforcement working for them and carrying out their agendas. That's what they want. What are they really trying to hide here? This isn't about what's going on with ICE or anything else. Let's remember, they don't want the fraud exposed. What happens when you file public disclosure requests? When you file public disclosure requests, you find out about the fraud. These things are only getting worse and worse and worse. But meanwhile, we're talking about what's going on the streets. We're talking about Bob Ferguson. We're talking about income taxes. We're talking about what's happening in Nick Brown's office. It's been a while since I've been able to keep looking up these daycares. That's the whole goal. Just keep changing the news. That's why they're using these little kids as their stormtroopers. That's why they're using these little kids for their protests. Because as long as they can keep this stuff going, as long as they can influence the next generation, we're not talking about the rampant fraud that is likely here in Washington state. Not talking about it at all. It's been a while since you heard me talking about the fraud. That's something I have to get back on researching because their distracting is actually working. It seems like it's actually working right now. Why do you think they're using the kids? Do you think it's to brainwash them? Do you think it's as a distraction? Do you think it's all of the above, or do you think it's something else? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, Washington is a national joke yet again and in the national headlines. Why? Because of our new millionaire tax, which is not about millionaires at all. It's the income tax on you. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder to sign up to join me at State of the Union. That's right, at Daniel's Broiler out in Bellevue on February 24th. You get to watch a live broadcast of the Ari Hoffman Show, and we are going to enjoy New York-style steak while we watch our Commander-in-Chief give the State of the Union. I've been wanting this event to come back for a very long time. I have only heard the myth of State of the Union. Luckily, I've heard it from people like Kevin, who's going to be there. Zach's going to be there. It's going to be great. We're going to have a great time. It'll be the best time. The best steak you've ever had. You've never had a greater steak in your life. You come to Steak of the Union, sign up, you get to hang out with Ari Hoffman. So make sure you head on over to KVI.com right now. That's KVI.com right now before we sell out to sign up for Steak of the Union. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Kevin in Belfair. Kevin, what's going on?
Oh, how are you, Artie? Love your show. Been listening for years.
Thank you.
It seems like the darn Republicans are really losing it again. Their dialogue is terrible. And one of the things that I noticed is they continue to call Trump a fascist. And these guys, if people knew the definition of the word, it goes back, way back in history, but the Nazi Party were fascist. And the first thing he did is they controlled children. They brought them into the party through the schools to where they're reporting on their own parents. And they controlled the media and the newspapers. And our darn media is awful. It's to our Republican Party, it's what Pravda was to the Communist Party.
Right now, so actually, just to illustrate your point for a second, Cairo 7 ran an article yesterday on the millionaire tax. And it didn't talk about how it could expand and how it could open the doors to any of that. It was just basically taking Bob Ferguson's press release and writing it. And as I said at the time, and this is actually what got me to come up with the line, if you call it a millionaire tax, you want it. If you call it an income tax, you understand it. And right now, our media here, I don't see them freaking out about this. Do these guys not realize that if people leave town, then that means less people watch their shows and they're more likely to get canceled? Now, that's not why we're fighting for it. What we're fighting for it is we don't want to pay the taxes, but purely from a self-preservation model. These guys should want to make sure that there's no income tax, and yet they keep repeating whatever the Democrats want because they don't want to lose access.
That's why they're going after the initiative process, because the people continually, by a fairly large margin, vote down the income tax, even if it's a head tax or whatever have you, because we all know we're all going to end up paying it. Even down, I think it'll be down around a 70 grand worker, and you can't live in Seattle on that kind of money.
No, and they just keep taxing. Oh, it's 50 cents here. It's $1 here. It's $2 there. Yeah, well, have you looked at how much all that has added up to? It's like the discussion I had with Representative, what's his name? The one who I was dealing with the car tabs. The one I interviewed, Curtis. My brain's failing me right now. Senator Curtis King. Got it. Okay. See, I'm not getting old and senile. Okay. Senator Curtis King last week, he's the one who's saying, well, everybody has to pay their fair share for the car tabs. I'm like, you sound a lot like a Democrat there. And he says, well, it's not fair that some people are paying and some people aren't. I said, King County isn't paying because in some parts of the state it's $43, but if you live in the RTA zone, you're paying $700 or more to register your car. And that's the thing. People have hit their limit.
And they go after working people. For instance, my wife's car broke down on the side of the road. It was well off the road on the shoulder. It got tagged Friday afternoon, and we called the local sheriff's office and said, hey, no place we can take it until Monday. It's off the road. It's safe. And by the way, you have a leaking RV down the road that's not even tabbed, and you've left that there for weeks. Well, we're not allowed to do anything with that. And the car got towed on Saturday and cost us over $400 and discovered the engine was shot.
Yeah.
So, you know the kind of people they go after. It just sickens me. And the amount of money they spend on the homeless, go back 20 years and go up till now, it's quadrupled. And guess what? The number of homeless has quadrupled or more. So they're just bringing in more and more homeless for more control.
Yeah, well, they're doing that because it's not for more control. The reason they bring in more and more homeless is because people keep voting for money for it, and then the money doesn't end up going to the homeless. Kevin, appreciate the call, appreciate the conversation.
Hey, one more quick thing I'd like to bring up. We used to be a two-paper area. The Seattle PI was considered a liberal paper, and the Times was conservative. That is completely blown up. They did the JOC agreement, and the PI, at least it was balanced. They had editorial pages with point and counterpoint, and they got experts on both sides of these opinions. Global warming was one. In fact, it was global cooling before it became global warming. Then you have to go to climate change because they went on that. Climate does change, doesn't it? But I'm just saying we got to do something to get some of the media back. It is completely left, and it's still going that way and even worse. So
well, that's why you got me. And I tell everybody that the worst thing you could do is pay for a subscription for the Seattle Times, because then you're funding the very thing you're talking about. You got to shut that down. Kevin, appreciate you being part of the show, my man. Appreciate the points. Appreciate the conversation. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. I saw a headline in the Washington Post before they started laying everybody off. I saw a headline in the Washington Post. Washington State's self-inflicted fiscal crisis is a warning. This is by some of our friends, Ryan Frost and Mark Harmsworth, over at the Washington Policy Center. After a decade of unprecedented spending growth, Washington State Democrats, who have largely controlled the state government for 40 years, are now proposing an unconstitutional income tax on high earners to plug a multi-billion-dollar budget deficit only a year after the largest tax increase in state history. For decades, Washington State's economic advantage was its lack of a personal income tax, allowing it to compete for talent and capital against states with larger economies such as California. That advantage is evaporating. The Tax Foundation State Business Tax Competitive Index has seen Washington's rank steadily erode over the past decade, falling from the sixth best tax climate, in the 2024 index to 45th this year. The collapse is due to many factors, including the addition of capital gains tax, long-term care payroll tax atop an already onerous business and occupation tax on gross sales. An additional personal income tax would create a double taxation environment, driving entrepreneurs toward income tax-free states such as Florida or Texas, and we're already seeing it. The concern is not so much that Amazon or Microsoft might leave. It's that we had Boeing created here, we had Costco created here, we had Amazon created here, we had Microsoft created here. Is that the next company isn't even going to be here in the first place because nobody wants to do business in Washington State. And in fact, when we come back, some representatives from the tech community will be joining us. Tell us about why they're getting more involved in politics, but also talk to us about how all these taxes are affecting the people who are small business owners, the people who are creating businesses here in Washington. And now a lot of businesses might not be coming here, not created here, and might be leaving here. You don't want to miss this interview when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Seems like certain people in the legislature are absolutely determined to kill our tech sector. And for me, the thing that I don't think they realize is that the people in the tech sector that are out here, it's not just the jobs they provide to their own companies, but it's also every single one of them has a barber, every single one of them has a mechanic, every single one of them has a grocer. And if you look at South Lake Union right now, it's not like it was before COVID, where it looked like an anthill, where there were just people everywhere. Now, in fact, it seems like we got other kinds of people that are wandering the streets in South Lake Union, and not necessarily the kind you'd want to see in a dark alley at night. Joining us now to discuss some of these terrible policies and bring awareness to what's going on is Aviel Ginsberg, who's the president of Foundation, and Dave Parker, who's the former board chair with the Washington Tech Industry Association of Tech Programs. Thank you so much for being with us today, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Such a pleasure. You bet. So, Dave, I'll start with you. We have a whole slew of bills that are bad. Some are alive, some are dead, some might be coming back. Which ones are you most concerned about?
So there's two parallel bills, House Bill 2292 and Senate Bill 6229 that strike me as the ones where we started, Aviana, started this adventure. It was a bill that basically says from the federal capital gains tax, which is the qualified small business stock, the number is the 1202 exemption. So what these bills do is it says the federal rules don't apply here in Washington State. We're going to provide capital gains tax on your outcome anyway. So what you have to understand is the context of the startup world. So the startup world is very dependent on investors, of which Aviel is one in a fund, angel investors and VCs. Sometimes people will compare us to Silicon Valley, but Silicon Valley has a lot of VCs, and Seattle is number 6 in the VC world. Behind
two orders of magnitude. I think saying 1 to 6 is like, that makes you think like, oh, the city is this, we're number 6, we're 40%. We're talking 100x difference, not even in the same league.
Gotcha. I'm with you.
One of the things we track in our world is the number of unicorn companies. So companies that get valued at $1 billion, right, as a startup. So you go from zero, it's an idea, you're backing the founders, early stage investments, high likelihood of failure, 92% of startups fail. And what this bill will do is then provide a capital gains tax on the return on investment for both the investor and for the founder. And one of the things we learned in COVID is founders are more mobile than ever. There's an environment, even though the tax infrastructure in California is as bad or worse than this, founders look at it and say, yeah, but my chance of having a disproportionate return in California says, why not just move? Why not go to Texas? My original analogy on this one was a transfer portal for college football players. It's like we're standing at the gate saying, don't go in the transfer portal. We know Texas wants you. We know Tennessee wants you. But the answer is, good God, man, why are we telling people you should leave? Take all the jobs with you.
And look, there's two sides of this. Like, I think it affects the founders and it affects investors. On the investor side, just quickly, early stage companies, they are horrible investments. The majority of them fail. Like, who puts money in them? It's friends, families, and fools. Sometimes the friends and family are the fools as well. But, QSBS exists to essentially be like, hey, we still need people to be taking chances and starting things that are probably going to fail. And so let's sort of sweeten that deal. And I think that ultimately people are not quite understanding the impact of you take that away, and suddenly someone's going to say, well, why the hell would I do this? And someone will say, well, maybe it's only a 10% difference. And I want to reframe it to the founder. When I run Foundations, which is an invite-only community of about 280 founders in Seattle. I deeply represent the voice here of what those people are thinking. My day job that pays my bills is an early stage VC. And I will tell you, when I am negotiating with a founder to lead their seed round, to say, hey, I'm going to give you $1 million, we don't reach a point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you $1 million at a $10 million valuation. And they're like, that sounds great, even though they wanted 8. They're not just going to say, I don't care about 20%. I don't care about 10%. So I don't understand what people suddenly think with QSBS here, because it would have a 10% impact. They're like, it's not a big deal. I deal with this every day. You're telling me that the founders that I talk to, they don't care when they're negotiating an investor in their business if it's 10% higher or 10% lower. They choose different investors. And to Dave's point, they're just going to build elsewhere. Like, it's completely nonsensical to ask people to do that. Like, there's almost like this weird religious aspect to these taxes, which is that, all you see is there's such, confirmation bias. You just see successful founders. You just see them afterwards when they've just been showered with tons of capital. And you're like, and you couldn't spare a little bit for the poor guy on the street that's struggling? That's not the reality of this situation. And also, this is all happening a priori. This is someone who just quit their job, doesn't know how they're going to make ends meet. They're taking a huge risk. Their spouse probably wants to kill them. They're pulling their kid out of the private school that they were lucky enough to have while they had their job at Amazon. They're taking all these risks. And I negotiate with those people, and they work hard for that 10%. And usually it's 10% of nothing, but they're going to make a big deal out of it, and their behavior is going to change.
Right. Just to bring this back to an analogy that might help people understand, I have a friend who's a baseball agent, and this guy told me he has to invest about $500,000 in every player before he even gets them to the big contract, and 1 out of maybe every 20 actually gets the big contract. So you're investing and you're investing and you're investing. And anybody who's a small business owner understands this. Small business owners, everybody gets paid before the actual business owner. And as a small business owner, I can tell you that too. So, Dave, I'll ask you this. With these taxes they're talking about, one might be dead. One's very much not dead. Now you've got the millionaire tax, which we know is just opening the door to an income tax for everybody. I got to ask, has everybody left already? And is this just the death nail going into the coffin? Or is this you guys trying to stop that from happening because you're so close to it?
Yeah, I think, listen, my grandfather started the first Ford garage in 1911 in Camas, Washington. I am really committed to this state. Some people would say I'm delusional. Some people have said I've been delusional. Some people have called me a communist. There's been this hysterical moment of just pointing out, if you do this thing, these things will happen. So have investors left already? Absolutely, right? Because they can. Have founders who are thinking about, the execution of this in the footnote, by the way, in the Senate bill was absolutely hysterical. It was like, it's going to affect 243 people. We'll raise $1 million and it'll cost us $440,000. I'm like, wait, the message you want to send is we have all the corporations we need here. We don't need any new ones. We don't want any new ones. All you new ones can go somewhere else. And we're going to net $500K. Mm-hmm. And the message is you should leave. And I got to tell you, it's just one of those markets where it's like talent is hard. Cost of living is hard. All the stuff that makes Washington, but the folks on the other side are like, no, they won't leave. They'll stay.
Yeah. So I want to take a stab at that because there's two things that are happening here at once. I want to talk about the founders and I want to talk about sort of the investors. You need both sides of these to actually make an innovation ecosystem work. And these laws are not happening in a vacuum. AI is something that, and hopefully we'll talk about some of those bills as well, has completely uprooted the way that the tech industry functions, the way that we build software, what that software is capable of. And San Francisco, for better or worse, is now more a central in-person hub for AI than anywhere else in the world, and also more of a tech hub than I would argue than it's ever been, even in any previous wave. So I'm already seeing 1 to 2 companies in the foundations community moving to San Francisco on a monthly basis. The amount of folks who are just choosing to move down there, having nothing to do with how taxes change the equation, has completely shifted and is no longer in our favor. Part of the argument you used to have for being a founder here was like, you got all this amazing talent at AWS, at Microsoft. They're so much more loyal than the Bay Area. And they've got all these amazing, all this amazing experience and talent and processes. We want to bring them in. Well, I'll tell you what, those people now, nobody writes software that way. Nobody builds that way. Nobody wants that person from AWS anymore. And so simultaneously, those companies are like, I need to be down there with everyone else building this way. And the talent in Seattle no longer really matters for me. So we already have that going away. Now the insult to injury is what we're talking about here. And so if I'm a founder, QSBS, frankly, is not going to affect me until I exit. There are going to be some people who are going to leave up front because they're like, the equation doesn't work. But sorry, I curse. I'll stop. There's going to be other people who are just going to wait until a year before they exit if they have some control. That already is what happens in states that have high taxes, is people relocate prior to the exit. But then for investors, you said, have people already left? The excise tax and the estate tax, like huge deals. So many folks who are 65 and older are like, I can't die in this state. So they have already made that decision or are making that decision. I would say that's still the biggest driving factor for them. It's not QSBS, but every little change of an equation of, is this the year I move? What do I do? What does this look like? Rebalances. So for founders, we already have headwinds. And now for those investors who are going to leave, they're not going to reinvest in the next generation. And it's sort of, what's the opposite of a flywheel? Oh, it's a death spiral. That's what we're creating here. And you know what? I kind of have to hand it to Olympia, because it's not like it's even a poorly crafted death spiral. Like, it's like someone meticulously was like, how do I destroy this in the most perfect fashion?
So then I'll ask you this. In the last few minutes we have with you guys, we're talking with Aviel Ginsberg, who's the president of the foundation, and Dave Parker, who's the former board chair for the Washington Tech Industry Association Tech Programs. So in the last few minutes, let's discuss this for a second. I know there's some people in my audience right now who are a little bit more extreme than me, who are going, screw the tech bros. They voted for this. They did this. And I think they're painting all you guys in one category, assuming everybody votes a certain way, just like people say about me all the time, oh, all Jews vote a certain way, which just isn't true at all. So are people waking up in that industry and realizing that maybe voting a certain way kind of created this problem and that they're heading a different direction? And are they looking at getting more political involved to kind of change course and say, can we save it before it's too late? Avi, I'll start with you.
I think number one, the small startup community has never had an organized voice. So I think even if people wanted to speak up, they didn't have the ability to actually do that. I think number two is the honest truth of, like, you are, and I know this is going to sound like a cop out, but I truly do mean it. It is so much work to build an early stage startup, and you add in everything that's growing exponentially with AI. These people have no time. They don't think about these things. And so when you're saying, are they changing how they're voting? You're making the assumption that these people are putting even an iota of effort into who am I voting for. Probably most of them aren't even, voting, because they're just like, I don't know if my company is going to exist next week, what my paycheck is, what do I do? And so I'm all in doing this. So I would say this is the first time that people are saying, like, oh, holy shit, turns out I need to be engaged in politics. But at least for small startup, I think it's completely wrong to say these people were actively pushing this other agenda. It's more no time, weren't thinking about it at all, which you could argue is just as bad, but I think that's the truth from my perspective.
Well, that kind of comes back to something I say all the time is a lot of people, they didn't start getting involved in politics until they got mugged, until their car got broken into, until their house got broken into. Dave, same question over to you.
Well, I think you got to think about it as there's three separate communities here that tend to get lumped together, right? There's the small business owners, right? There's lots of things going on for the small business owners. You have the Chamber of Commerce, who's your voice. There's the big tech companies who everybody's vilified. And we do that because once they get good, we don't like them anymore. But when they're underdogs, we love them. You're talking here about the person who left Amazon, left Microsoft, left whatever, to go start a company, hire people and are out making their first and second payroll and sweating that with a second mortgage on their house, right? These are not big tech bros, right? These are people who are like, I have an idea. I'm compelled by this idea. I'm going to try to raise venture capital if I'm lucky. Only 6% of them get venture capital, right? So the odds are so seriously stacked against you that you're like, this is just one more thing. Like, really? So you have to understand but if you look at the data, all job growth, net job growth, comes from innovation economy companies that started with an idea and grew into Amazon, or started with an idea, grew into Microsoft, or started with an idea and grew into Zillow, like not even the biggest companies in the area. And the message from the legislature in this case is, if you're going to start the next one of those, start it somewhere else.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Dave Parker, Aviel Ginsberg, guys, thanks so much for sharing your insight. And I'm really glad we could give you an opportunity to say this so that more people could understand what's going on, because I think a lot of people just have their assumptions from whatever they read and whatever they see on TV. And I think this really helps to clarify it. And I really appreciate the two of you speaking up and joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Always a pleasure. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Got a text here from Pam out in Lake Stevens. Says, Ari, I just bought tickets to Stake of the Union, or she called it State of the Steak. I like that too. We'll check out the State of the Steak together at the Stake of the Union. You should get your tickets now over at KVI.com. It's going to be a great evening. We're going to have surprise guests. We're going to be at Daniel's Broiler on February 24th, and we're going to watch the State of the Union together and get to eat some New York-style steak. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a great event. I've wanted this thing to come back for so long, and I've never even been to the thing before. I've just heard the legend, the lore, you might say, of the Stake of the Union. So make sure you head on over to KVI.com right now to sign up before all the spots are gone. Lots more to discuss when we come back. Young Zach is down in San Francisco getting ready for the big game. You're not going to believe who he spoke to today. We'll have some fun stories from right next to where the big game is going to be on Sunday. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Democrats are opening the door for electronic voting. That's right, on the internet. Yeah, couldn't make this up if I tried. But before we get to the bad news, let's talk about the good news. We got the big game coming up this Sunday. Young Zach is on location down there in San Francisco. Zach, what's going on today, man?
Well, Ari, after our conversation yesterday, I was too nervous to go out and about not being behind security. So I'm on Media Row right now at the big game. It is insane. All the big outlets are here. Athletes today have been walking around all over. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I'll bring you guys tomorrow. Talk to former Seahawk Ricardo Lockett, talk to Cam Newton, Chad Ochocinco, asking them all about what stadium they've played in that they believe to be the loudest. And the answer probably won't surprise you. So tell us a little bit about, I see this Vince Lombardi trophy, or what appears to be a Vince Lombardi trophy, that you're parading around Media Row here at Super Bowl 60. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, so we're just here telling public consumers to be careful wherever they buy some of the merchandise. We've seen an influx of counterfeit goods coming into the country, especially now with the big Super Bowl game this year. So what we're here is showcasing one of a counterfeit Lombardi trophy that we seized last year at the New Orleans Super Bowl.
So where do you find a lot of these products coming across, and how are they making it into the country?
So a lot of these products are coming mostly from China, and they're coming in via air or sea at the ports of entries.
And is this stuff that they just ship over and just expect to not be intercepted?
Yeah, pretty much. They try to smuggle some of these goods, but our officers and special agents with Homeland Security investigations, we work very closely to deter and enforce these.
So what do you look for? How do you intercept some of this stuff? What tips you off that something's not quite right and some of these counterfeit goods are coming across?
So we have a lot of our officers who are very well trained. We have red flags that we look in the systems when they're shipping some of these items.
What's the value, like let's say this fake Vince Lombardi trophy, what do you think the street value of something like that is worth? And is it something people try to pass off as real, or is it sold clearly as a counterfeit?
Both. We've seen it both. Some of these, they're paying hundreds, thousands of dollars, but they're just paying, we don't know where that money's going to.
Have you seen a big influx this year? You referenced that was from New Orleans. Is there been a big uptick here in San Francisco, being a little closer south, and it's certainly in a port city?
So it's always every port. All counterfeit goods are coming in through all the ports, ports of entry in the entire United States.
We're up in Seattle. Obviously, we deal with this also. So thank you so much for your time. Anything else you want people to know about?
Just be careful where you buy from legitimate sources.
Thank you so much.
Zach, it sounds like you're doing real news stuff down there, not just the sports stuff.
Well, yeah, I didn't expect that to play there. But, yeah, as I'm walking around talking to the players, I see this Lombardi trophy, and they're just bringing this around? I thought, wow, things are really too good to be true. And they were too good to be true because it was a replica, and it was Customs and Border Patrol. And they stopped me and said, that you thought it was real, didn't you? And absolutely. And so, yeah, I got to talk to them a little bit about counterfeit goods coming across the border.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool. So when you were doing that, you were talking with the players. What else is going on Media Row? Is it like the RNC where just everybody's got their little booth and they're just waiting for people to come to them, and players are wandering around? You can try on their Super Bowl rings like we got to at the RNC from a couple players. What are we talking about here?
Well, yeah, I haven't got to try any on, but when I shook Ricardo Lockett's hand, I did get a good feel of that ring, of a true, proper Seahawks Super Bowl ring. So that was cool. But, yeah, a lot of it's former NFL players. Talked to Cam Newton. Like I said earlier, Chad Ochocinco, a lot of former players walking around. I think they know a lot of the sports stations. They're having fun talking to those guys. But yesterday, not a lot going on Media Row. Today, nonstop, just cavalcade of folks coming through, talking all things football, making predictions for the game.
Well, so
and it is a lot of fun.
What are the predictions they're making? Are they favorable or unfavorable to us?
I've not heard a single person suggest that the Patriots are going to pull it off. Not one.
Wow. Okay.
I even got, some of you might remember the name, he was around here a second ago, Delaney Walker, former San Francisco 49er. And he even said, I hate to say it.
That's very
But
good.
he's calling it in favor of the Seahawks.
That's very good. So how are you spending the nights? Are you talking to people in bars? Are you just hanging out? Or are you like part of the events they have going on there? Because I know we got a bunch of press invites for that stuff.
Trying to get some sleep, but yesterday I did get to go to a very cool media party at the EA Sports campus, and that's a fun facility. I got to see the car from F1 : the movie.
Oh, you must have
Brad
loved
Pitt,
that. Yeah.
I was. It was really, there was security there to keep you away from the car, and the security was there to keep me away from the car. But it was the one Brad Pitt drove in the movie. They also had these super fancy racing simulators. I got to try out all their latest games and stuff like that. So, the EA Sports Media Party was certainly a good time. And their campus, their headquarters down here, they kind of all, like a lot of those tech campuses, have like a central kind of park in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Theirs is a football field, and it reads Madden in each end zone.
Oh, that's funny. Now, Zach, I want you to think about this question because I'm going to want an answer when you get back. Was it more fun of all the stuff leading up to the Super Bowl or the Super Bowl itself? That's the question I have for you when you come back, because it sounds like you're having the time of your life down there.
Yeah, my hunch is that it will be leading up to, because I did get word today, I don't think I will really be in the Super Bowl. I think I will be Super Bowl adjacent.
Wait. You mean like when we were covering the RNC and they had the other stadium next door and that's where we were, and then they put us up in the rafters, so you don't even think you're going to be up in the rafters for the Super Bowl?
I thought I was going to be up in the rafters. I now think I will be adjacent.
Adjacent. So not
Rafter
even at
adjacent.
the game. I got you. Rafter
But, I mean, I cannot complain. This is incredible, and I'm glad to get to take the KVI listeners along for the ride, because there's so much I had no idea about. I mean, so much of this is so foreign to me, and it's fun to experience it and pass it all along.
Well, Zach, you're doing an absolutely amazing job. Where'd you park today? Is the car safe? Was it safe when you got back to the car last night? You still have all your
Today
gear?
was worse. Today was far worse. I wanted to go Jonathan Cho style with some video, but I was too nervous that my phone would be taken from my hand.
It's that bad.
Yeah, the Fenty bent was beyond a 90-degree angle. That's for sure.
Wow.
It was a lot of stepping over people, that sort of thing.
Okay. See, this is the thing, guys. You have to understand. I'm the extremist around this radio show. Zach always calls it like it is.
Hey, Ari, hang on. Oh, hold on. Never mind.
Oh.
I thought quarterback Mac Jones is kind of walking around. I thought we might get a question, but he got distracted.
I thought you were about to trip over a homeless person or something like that. But then I remembered you're at the media row.
Here we go. Hey, Mac Jones, who's got the loudest NFL stadium?
Whoa. You.
Who's me?
I'm just kidding. Buffalo Bills, probably.
You got a second choice?
Seattle, probably.
Anything you want to say to the Seattle fans live on the air right now?
No, but good luck, and they're really good. So.
Are they going to take it?
We'll see.
All right, thank you. There you have it, Mac Jones.
Look at that. You're like Jonathan Cho, but with sports. You got right in that guy's face right there. That was great, Zach.
I was quite much in his face.
He said, whoa. He said, whoa, when you came running up to him. Well done, Zach. Thank you for joining us. Really do appreciate
That's
you.
probably why I
Stay
get
safe down
sacked
there.
so much.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Never saw me coming.
Oh, well done, Zach.
There's a reason that guy ain't in the Super Bowl.
We're clipping all this for later, right? We're going to play this later, replay this again and again.
Sam Darnold saw me coming.
Thank you, Zach. All right, we'll have more from Zach tomorrow while he's down at the big game. We'll hear all about what's going on down there. Don't forget to sign up for Steak of the Union before it sells out, my friends. Head on over to KVI.com right now so that way you can enjoy a New York steak dinner plus so much more, my friends. So make sure you sign up right now. Switching gears entirely. Back to our very own Washington State. Senate Bill 6035. 6035. You probably haven't heard of this one before. I just discovered it last night. I haven't heard about this one at all. Ready? You want to freak out? You're going to yell at your radio, I promise. Senate Bill 6035 authorizes the Secretary of State to employ an electronic ballot portal for service voters, overseas voters, disabled voters, and any elector who is a member of a federally recognized Indian tribe that resides on an Indian reservation. Time out. Wasn't the whole thing about mail-in balloting so that way people who can't get to the polls could get their ballots in? Wasn't that why we did the mail-in balloting? Now, all of a sudden, It's the e-balloting. Oh, electronic. Is that legal? No, really. I have a serious legality question. Is this legal? Democrats go, I will make it legal. So they're going to say, what? You're trying to stop the rights of the members overseas to vote. No, you're trying to use our service members overseas to push through electronic voting. Do you need somebody who's on Indian tribal land? Do they not get the mail over there? Is there a reason you can't do that? Is there a reason you can't set up polling stations? My friends, the reason they are doing this is to open the door for e-voting. You think I'm being overly paranoid? You think I'm 100% correct? Give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Matt says, can I upgrade to a tomahawk steak dinner over at Daniel's? I don't know, man. I'll check that out for you, though. But I know that Matt's already signed up for it also. So anyway, got a lot of feedback from our friends over here with regard to the Tech Bros interview we did a little bit earlier. This is from Bob in the 509. Ari, while it's undeniable that there are some reasonable tech bros, the overwhelming majority are like their brethren in the restaurateur sector, flaming leftists. To paint with a broad brush, techie transplants begin to rapidly deconstruct the socioculture and political fabric of the Pacific Northwest. 30 years. Okay, one second here. Bob, I usually like your points, but I don't think you heard what these guys were saying, is that when you're working in a startup, you're working so many hours, you're probably not even thinking about voting. I'm not going to disagree with you that there's a lot of lefties in the tech world, but you heard what those guys just said. Most of them aren't politically involved. So, Bob, what I'll say is that a lot of people don't get politically involved until it affects them directly. Well, now it's affecting the tech bros directly. And rather than saying, hey, wait a minute, there are a bunch of lefties, they voted for this. You know what? They're now turning around, getting involved, and they're voting against this, and they're trying to stop all this. So instead, you should pull the John McClane line out, and you should say, welcome to the party, pal. That's what you should be saying. That's the kind of stuff we should bring on. That's what we should be talking about. We should welcome them to the party. And these two guys, they were very honest about it. They said they weren't even paying attention to the politics. Hey, I was no different. Did I watch Fox News? Sure. Did I watch some political convention stuff? Sure. Did I know anything about who the mayor of Seattle was? No. Did I know who my senator was? No. Did I know who my governor was? No. Did I know about any of this stuff? No, I wasn't even paying attention until it all started affecting me. And now look what I do for a living, right? Now, meanwhile, I do know who my senator is now. And like we mentioned yesterday, Senator Maria Cantwell came out of her cave on Groundhog's Day to tell us whether or not we get to turn over our voting rolls to the Department of Justice, who's asking for them. So do you think maybe one of the other reasons they don't want to turn them over to the Department of Justice is because then all of a sudden we'll find out how much data is missing from these things? We will find out, according to our friend Glenn Morgan, we know that a third of the information, of the data information is missing from our voter rolls. Why is that? Why is it missing? Why shouldn't we check them out? And if you got nothing to hide, you should just say, hey, look at it, and then say, see, Ari Hoffman was wrong. See, all the Republicans were wrong. See, Trump was wrong. The only reason you're restricting it is because you think you have something to hide. This lie about protecting people's data, the IRS works for the federal government. They have everybody's data. Department of Homeland Security has everybody's data. That's why when I reach out to them, they can tell me if somebody's here legally or illegally like that immediately. So, no, they're not protecting your private information. They're protecting their voter rolls because they know what you're going to find with it, right? Why do they want so many illegals in the country? So that they can vote. And here's something else. The Inspector General, Anthony Desposito, said this today. This is something that people aren't talking about fraud right now. What are they talking about? Ice, ice, baby. But here's what they found. Here's what the Inspector General of the U.S. found.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anthony D'Esposito. I serve as the Inspector General for the U.S. Department of Labor. First and foremost, I want to thank the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Massachusetts for having and taking the proactive approach that they have. It's no secret that many of these cases have been presented to U.S. attorneys throughout the country in the last 4 years and have been ignored. This case is not a one-off. This is something that's happening throughout the United States of America. And when there's no checks and balances, when there's no guardrails in place, fraud ensues. I would like to thank from the Department of Labor Inspector General's Office our Special Agent in Charge, Malone, and ASAC Roberts for their leadership on this case. When Raul Fernandez takes his sentence today, It's over $1 million. $750,000 of that was a U.S. labor program in the pandemic unemployment assistance. The work that our agents are doing, collaborating with others, inspectors general, as well as the U.S. Attorney's Office, is critical. And what is clear is that this, as the U.S. Attorney said, is just the beginning. I know when I speak for the Department of Labor Inspector General, we will come to every state. We don't care whether it's blue or red. Where there's waste, fraud, and abuse, we will root it out. The case title and actually the name of the restaurant was El Primo. For most of us probably know that in the Hispanic language, I'm half Puerto Rican, but primo means cousin or family. What the defendants in this case realized or thought was that the American people was their family and taking away from the vulnerable population. And I'm so thankful to work with partners up here and, of course, the leadership of the U.S. Attorney to hold them accountable and to let the American people know that, once again, this is just the beginning. Thank you.
Over $1 million in fraud of SNAP benefits and pandemic benefits. Over $1 million. You have to keep the pressure up, guys. You have to keep the pressure up. You know, our friend Glenn Morgan runs Doge trainings, Doge Washington trainings, and the amount of stuff they found is just absolutely unbelievable. I don't even have time to go through all of it. We have to keep the pressure up. And the reason that they're having all these ICE protests is to distract from the fact that all this is happening. This is what we need to do. We need to keep the pressure up. You got to keep it up. And here's something else. Tom Homan goes to Minnesota. And now it seems like we have a deal out of Minnesota that they're actually going to honor the ICE detainers for felons. And that's what we wanted the whole time. In fact, here's Tom Homan talking about it.
We currently have an unprecedented number of counties communicating with us now and allowing ICE to take custody of illegal aliens before they hit the streets. Unprecedented cooperation. And I'll say it again. This is efficient, requires only 1 or 2 officers to assume custody of a criminal alien target rather than 8 or 10 officers going into the community and arresting that public safety threat. This frees up more officers to arrest or remove criminal aliens. More officers taking custody of criminal aliens directly from the jails means less officers on the street doing criminal operations. This is smart law enforcement, not less law enforcement. It's safer for the community, safer for the officers, and safer for the alien.
Now, here's something interesting. If Minnesota can do it, why can't Washington? Do you remember earlier in the show we told you the exclusive breaking news that truck driver who was driving while under the influence, that driver who hit a Washington State snowplow and almost killed the guy, the thing flipped over. To flip a snowplow, that's a pretty serious impact. If he had been in a car, he'd probably be dead. So I reached out to the Attorney General's office, and I got a response from Mike Falk over at the Attorney General's office. Kevin, you want to know what he said? What he said, DUI cases are usually prosecuted at the local level in the jurisdiction where the alleged events occurred, not through our office. Yes, we know that. State law governs how those jurisdictions would respond to detainer requests. What's our state law right now? We're a sanctuary state. So this illegal alien who plowed into a snowplow where a Washington State employee was working, the Attorney General doesn't have any comment on that. This is the go blank yourself email. That's what this basically was. Like, I'm not falling for your trap. We're not going to say that. State law is state law. We're just following the law. Just following the law. This guy is probably already long gone. Long gone, thanks to those laws. So basically, they have no comment on a Washington State employee almost getting killed because of their policies. Another. We've already had at least one death. Another one. And yet, no comment. No comment whatsoever out of these guys. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. But of course, it's really not. When we come back, my friends, Zoran Mamdani chooses style over substance. Lets a whole bunch of people die in that snowstorm, but don't worry, he's got a new shiny jacket for all the city employees. We'll tell you all about it, but first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast right now on the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder to sign up for KVI's State of the Union on February 24th. We're going to be watching our Commander-in-Chief give the State of the Union address while enjoying New York steaks over at Daniel's Broiler. So make sure you sign up now at KVI.com because seating is limited and this event will sell out. So right here from Jeff and Kent, referencing our last story, Nick Brown said he worked with the federal government when he could when he took office. Will he go to Tom Homan now, talk now, given what happened in Minnesota? Yeah, that's not going to happen. Given the response I just got from Mike Falk, I don't think there's any way this is going to happen. Not at all. I think it was just all for show. Yeah, I'll work with him. I'll work with him. No, they're not going to work with him. Speaking of people who don't know how to work, I mean, work with them. people don't know how to work. This one is actually Zoran Mamdani is being absolutely ripped because he's promoting these new jackets they got that have this very fancy stitching that say the city of New York on them. As somebody who has ordered apparel before, I can tell you this is a really expensive use of taxpayer funds. He got the embroidered ones. The really nice embroidered ones. You know how much. See, Kevin's nodding. Yes, that's solid stuff. Yes, the embroidered one. That's the way to go. If you're going to get a nice jacket, you get the embroidered ones. So he gets these nice embroidered jackets for city employees. Meanwhile, 16 people died in New York on the streets. Who normally dies in these disasters? So, like, take Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Sandy, any of that stuff. Whenever there's a death toll, it's usually homeless and the elderly who couldn't get out. That's normally what it is. Now, wait a second. You knew the snowstorm was coming. They were talking about it for like a week and a half. You had plenty of time to say, here's all the emergency shelters. Let's set them up. Here's where you go. And yet they didn't do that. We already discussed the problems they had with the snowplows, where they build up these big mountains of snow, and normally you have the snow machines come along and remove the big mountains of snow, but instead they froze into blocks of ice. Now the garbage trucks can't get to the garbage. People bring their garbage out to the sidewalk. It's just sitting there. Rats are infesting it. It's an absolute nightmare. Not in front of Gracie Mansion. Not in front of Gracie Mansion. But elsewhere in the city, it's an absolute nightmare. This one from the 818. Mamdani in office about a month, and he has already reduced the homeless population. Oh, no. That's not good. Not good at all. Yeah, Mamdani's not very good at that. Not at all. In fact, here's something else. So there was a guy who the police showed up to check out his apartment, see what was going on, domestic violence thing. And the police show up, and the guy charged at them with a knife. So the police shot him. Now he's in the hospital. Mamdani went to visit the guy who was shot, not the police officer. The video came out of this. You very clearly see the guy coming at the police officer with a knife. It's not even a question. His wife is trying to hold him back. Mamdani goes to visit the guy. Do you remember de Blasio? When Bill de Blasio, an officer, was killed and he went to the hospital to visit with the family, the entire police department who was there turned their backs on him. Yeah, something like that is definitely going to happen here. It's only a matter of time. Please, God, no more officers get killed, but inevitably in a job that dangerous, it's likely to happen. And that's something we're likely to see thanks to Zoran Mamdani and how he runs the city, the anti-cop person that he is. Over on the Warrior Injury Law text line, Dan Smith talking about the e-voting. He says, yes, Master Hoffman. He knows I identify as a Jedi Master. I like that. You are correct about electronic voting being a horrifying idea. This would make it a bazillion times easier for Democrats to manipulate the elections. Yes, that's exactly what I think they're doing. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from John in Lakewood. John, what's up, man?
Hey, Ari, you probably brought this up before, but I just kind of wanted to reiterate the fact that I believe, well, first of all, everybody is counted in the census, whether you're in jail, whether you're illegal, whether you're not. The only people that aren't counted are visitors and I think diplomats and stuff. But they're so bent on having a congressional districts and that they're protecting illegal aliens for that count. I think that's part of the problem. And Washington is very, very militant in protecting the illegal status here. I think
Well, it's a little bit more than that, John. Let me interject for a second here. It's a little bit more than that. If your state loses population, whether it's illegal aliens or whether it's people moving because California sucks and Florida's better or whatever it is, what happens is then you lose congressional seats. California has lost 4 congressional seats in the last 6 years. 4. By the way, if this keeps going, Do you know how many? I'm sorry, they've lost 2. They're projected by 2030 to lose 4. Quick correction there.
We're projected to lose 1, I believe, by 2030.
By 2030, we are
27
now
people a day.
on the list because we are losing 40 taxpayers a day out of Washington State. And that's the first time ever for us. It used to be we had a net increase even during COVID because a lot of people from California were coming up here. But now people are saying, nope, I'm out of here. 40 taxpayers a day because of these policies.
There was a time I remember when they said that kingdoms full of people were moving into Washington every year. That was probably in the 90s going into the 2000s. And so now it's going the other way, and they're freaking out about that.
Well, during the tech boom, yeah, and you just heard, we had our friends from the tech community on the show just a little while ago. You're going to be able to get that interview over at KVI.com after the show. But we had the interview with them, and they said people are moving to San Francisco. You just heard Zach talk about how crime-ridden is. They're going to, well, because that's where the tech world is going back to. They left, and now they're going back. John, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, Democrats are freaking out that evictions are going up. Oh, you mean when you stop paying or you stop telling everybody they don't have to pay their rent, that all of a sudden evictions go up? Yeah, we'll talk about that when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Yet another reminder, my friends. I don't want you to miss out on State of the Union. Make sure you sign up at kvi.com because I would hate for you to come to me afterwards like I know is going to happen. Ari, are there any more tickets? I know it's the day of and I didn't sign up, but I really want to go because you got all these amazing guests and you're going to be there and everybody, and then you're not going to be able to go. So, my friends, head on over to kvi.com right now. Sign up for State of the Union. I saw an article from the Seattle Times business reporter, and the reason I'm using the air quotes for business reporter is they clearly don't understand what's going on. Shall we read the article together and then my analysis? King County, Washington eviction levels hit an all-time high again. Washington and King County recorded more evictions in 2025 than ever before, a sign that the affordability crisis is deepening. No, that's one part of it. But that's a way of not looking at the entire big picture. Is affordability a huge issue? Yes. Then if you're going to talk about affordability, how about we talk about the taxes? How about we talk about the utilities? How about we talk about the cost of groceries, the cost of gas, and why they're up here and not in Idaho next door? How about we talk about that? But they don't want to talk about that. They want to make it feel like it's so unaffordable to live here. People are losing their houses. You know what else is happening? You know how long it takes because of all the roadblocks the Democrats have put in place for the eviction cases to make their way through our justice system? I have lots of family in the real estate business. I'm in the real estate business. You know how hard it is to actually get somebody out of a place? The reason you're seeing record evictions after record evictions is a lot of those cases from 2020, 2021, and 2022 of the freeloaders that we covered in depth at the time. The ones who took advantage of COVID and just said, I'm not paying rent. I'm not going to pay rent, and I'm going to stay here till you have to spend the money to evict me. How many stories did we did like that? Those are now finally coming to trial. Those are finally going before a judge. Plus, you add on to that the eviction rates because of affordability. You have a massive problem here. There's a massive, massive problem. And then I have another question, and this is something I have to research, is that if this is going up so high, are they almost out of money for all the lawyers they pay for people getting evicted with your taxpayer money? Are they almost out of money? Also, here's something else. What if somebody's been renting to an illegal alien and they go, guys, look, we've been nice so far, but we know it's only a matter of time till Trump comes for you. Get out now because you know what? You really should have been renting in the first place. Is that part of the equation as well? Look, it says right here in the article, rents are simply too high for tenants to afford. Well, is that because you put so many taxes on the landlords? You put so many onerous regulations on the landlords in the Seattle area where tenants were already paying some of the highest rents in the nation. Average rents jumped around 12% between the start of 2020 and the end of 2022. Gee, why do you think that is? The reason that is because they had to worry that the government was going to come along at some point and say, yeah, your tenant doesn't have to pay rent anymore. So people had to build up reserves. In addition to that, they didn't allow building more houses, so you had a supply and demand issue because it's so hard to build anything because of all your green insanity. You factor all that together, and now, of course, rents are going to go up. Plus, they had to recoup costs for the money they weren't getting from the deadbeat tenants during COVID. You put all that together, you have a perfect storm on top of the fact that you had a bunch of people moving here. Well, I think there's going to be a lot more availability given all the people leaving in the tech sector. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Jay in Des Moines. Jay, what's going on, man?
Hey, Ari, how long do you think it would take before I got evicted out of my house if I stopped paying my property taxes?
Exactly. Well, I think the government would seize it almost right away, and then you'd be out of luck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like when they talk about affordability. Let me do this with you here for a second, Jay. I know that my property taxes have tripled since I moved in 20 years ago. Okay? I understand they're going to go up, but they are now triple what they used to be in just a 20-year span. What are they going to be like when I'm ready for retirement?
I don't know, but mine have doubled in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and you live in Des Moines. You don't even live in Seattle proper. So what do you think that's attributed to?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, you're still in King County, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, so who controls the property taxes in King County? King County, that's right. So I assume it has something to do. You and I are paying property taxes to the exact same people. Thanks for the call, Jay. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Meanwhile, a lot of you are sending me emails about all these school walkouts, and I appreciate them. But did a memo go out to everybody? They're all writing the same email from various school districts. They're all writing the exact same email. We are not encouraging this. You will get an absence, but wink, wink, nod, nod. You really shouldn't be leaving school. We're going to send our staff out there to coordinate and make sure everybody's okay. The kids are being turned into little shock troopers, little protest activists for the left. That's what they're doing with the kids. Tom Hoffman was actually talking about some of these activists today.
When I was away to where the roadblock shifts, I called the chief of police, and he went and disbanded them after I got off the phone with him. He has promised to take enforcement action. It's still illegal. You can't do that. And again, a message to those folks, what are you doing? You really think you're going to stop an ICE and CBP from doing the job? It's a joke.
I don't know if you've really seen these roadblocks in Minnesota. There's a video of them online. They take a few wooden pallets, they set them up, and they check cars. The average car is going to be like, I'm just going to go around you or go somewhere else because I don't know who you are, crazy person dressed like an Antifa lunatic. But you think ICE is going to stand for that? They're going to go, you're obstructing the road. Get out of the way. Now you're obstructing an ICE officer. You're arrested. You've seen these little cosplayers. When an actual law enforcement guy shows up, they scatter, they run, and then they come back later so they can feel important. Now, Minnesota is supposedly supposed to be cooperating, which is why ICE is saying we're pulling agents out of Minnesota, not all of them, but some of them, because now if things are going the appropriate route, we're now when somebody's arrested and somebody's an illegal alien, they are turned over to ICE. If that's what's actually happening, then guess what? You don't need all the ICE agents on the streets. Has Minneapolis and Minnesota finally woken up to the fact that if you actually follow the law, you're actually going to get less of the illegal aliens in trouble because now that they don't have to go door to door checking everybody's ID when they go in after an illegal alien criminal, that now, guess what? You're just going to get the ones who are in the jail and not the rest of the family. I think right there, that's a safer, better way. But the sanctuary states, like here in Washington, refuse to actually do that. Now, the other thing we have to focus on is what's actually going on in Minnesota. What is the reason these guys are actually in Minnesota? Here's President of the United States talking about why we're actually getting rid of the illegals.
The other thing we can't lose sight of is you probably have in Minnesota, and it's worse in some places like California, $19 billion in fraud. And we're going to find out, we're very deep into that investigation, but we're not going to forget that. A lot of people think that a lot of this nonsense that's going on is to try and, hide what's going on with respect to the fraud. They have at least $19 billion. You're hearing 9. Now I'm hearing it's 19, and it's probably much more. So it's they talk about incompetence. I think it's not incompetence. I think it's just pure fraud. These are dishonest people. They're bad people. I think they hate our country, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. But don't let this hide the fact that you have tremendous fraud. And, if we find the fraud in this country, you'll have a balanced budget without even cutting anything. You'll literally have a balanced budget.
I don't think he's wrong, by the way. Somebody today was saying, yeah, me paying my taxes and realizing that's all going to Somali fraud. Yeah, that's the problem here in Washington, and they're refusing to investigate it. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news headlines put a smile on your face heading into your evening commute. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news headlines, got this text from the 253. They have a new nickname for Turd Ferguson. Sorry, Bob Ferguson, our governor. SpongeBob Tax Pants. Which I don't think I'm going to use that. Still clever, though. SpongeBob Tax Pants. I mean, clever. I like it. I don't know if I'm going to use that one. Then there's this question here. John in Lakewood says, Ari, can you use a Daniel's Broiler gift card to offset the price of the steak of the union cost? I don't think it works that way, but I'll check with promotions.
Yeah, I think it's a separate event ticket.
Right, because this is a deal made just for us. It's a separate. Yeah, I don't think you can actually do that, John.
We can look into it.
We will check for you. Remind me tomorrow. I'll check with promotions in the meantime. Switching gears over to an outlet we don't normally use here on the Ari Hoffman Show. I don't know if you put this on the left or the right. I don't think it's in my little red book of Mao's conspiracy. I don't think it's in my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. Hang on. GhostbustersNews.com. Yes, there's a website, GhostbustersNews.com. The Smithsonian has named the Ghostbusters New York City Firehouse among 250 places to visit to celebrate America. Now, I think it's cool. I've never actually been there. You walk around outside. You don't go inside. It's an active firehouse, guys. But they embraced it. The Ghostbusters logo is outside the firehouse. You see it just like it is. They have the logo of that fire station is actually the Ghostbusters logo. Very cute, very nice. They do stuff for the holidays. It's very nice. But it seems to me everything here is from a movie, and whatever your landmarks are, a lot of these things have nothing to do with America whatsoever. So, for example, let's do this. In Washington State, if you had to celebrate America, where would you say you should go in Washington State to celebrate America? State Capitol, perhaps, right? Go to the state. Laws are made there. I mean, now it's kind of like commie land, but in theory, you'd go there. Olympia, right?
I mean, I don't know, but like anything that's been known as a landmark in Washington State is a part of the U.S. So
sure.
That's why I kind of get why that firehouse is a part of that. I mean, it was a movie made in the U.S. that has they gave this building notoriety.
I'm with you, but for me,
a building that was crafted in the U.S.
If I want to go celebrate America, like in New York, for example, all the places are the Empire State Building. I get all that, but I don't see the battlefields of the American Revolution, which are places maybe I'm looking at this differently. That's just where I'm coming at it with. If you're celebrating America, show me historical. Show me that. I don't see a lot of the historical on here. I see a lot of the landmarks. I see a lot of the movies. That's what I see on here.
Well, and then also you got to think like if we're getting contemporary or we're getting like the last, 50 years or whatever.
Right.
A lot of the stuff is going to be like that.
So to illustrate your point, okay, let's go through what's on the Smithsonian's list for Washington.
Okay.
Okay, here's what we got. The Space Needle, World's Fair, JFK,
yep.
sure. I'll give you your Space Needle. The Chihuly Glass Museum? To celebrate America?
Oh,
see, this is where you start running into problems, right? And then you have the Pike Place Market. Okay, Ingenuity, Early Explorers. I would say the Underground Tour more than that, more than Pike Place Market. But sure, I'll give you your Pike Place Market. That's fine. It's iconic. And then of all the movies that were filmed in Washington, of all the TV shows, of all the everything, which place do you think they picked? Which movie? I'll just do this, not which place. Which show or movie did they pick?
I think they did Sleepless in Seattle. I think it was like the Houseboats or something like that.
You would be wrong because that's what I would have picked. Or Frasier, maybe, if we're going that route.
Maybe Singles, the movie Singles.
Another good guess.
The apartment complex from Singles.
You would think. That's not on there either. Maybe 10 Things I Hate About You.
No Retreat, No Surrender, where Jean-Claude Van Damme plays a Russian bad guy and the kid trains because the ghost of Bruce Lee trains him here in Seattle.
No, not that. Not Northern Exposure, but isn't that Alaska? I forget what that was. Okay, none of that. Twin Peaks. The stuff from Twin Peaks. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but then you go down to, so what else is in our area? So I started going down.
Not the restaurant Twin Peaks, to be clear.
Oh, no. Hang on a second.
Not the restaurant. Not the restaurant chain Twin Peaks.
It is home. It's the Tweeds Cafe from Twin Peaks.
Yes, let's be clear here.
Yeah, no.
The other
Not
thing
that.
is very
That's a different, very different. Yes. No, not that one. So let's just go down the West Coast for a second here, and I'm looking at what they got right over the border in Oregon. Okay, they do have Mount St. Helens on here when you go south. Okay, that makes sense. Then you have Astoria, Oregon, because of the Goonies. Fine.
Sure.
Okay, if we're going that movie route, you've got that. And then all the stuff from The Shining, that's also on here.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So now
sure.
you've got that. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you go down to the Oregon Vortex and Crater Lake. That's it for Oregon. That's all Oregon has. We're done. That's the end of Oregon. No more. You go down to California, and you've got the Hollywood sign and Yosemite National Park and Sequoia National Park, where they filmed Citizen Kane, the Cesar Chavez National Monument. It's a really random thing. I don't know who came up with this. It's a very, very odd list. Personally, I'm kind of curious what you think your bucket list places are here in Washington State. And if you email them to me, maybe tomorrow we'll mention them on the show. ARI@KVI.com. That's ARI@KVI.com. What do you think are places for America's 250th birthday that you have to visit in our area? I would say the Underground Walking Tour. I think the Underground Walking Tour has to do with the settling of Seattle, the whole Arthur Denny and Mercer and all that kind of stuff. I think that's a can't miss kind of thing.
Well, when I was a kid and when I listened to Art Bell, which you can listen to here on Saturdays, there's a hole over in eastern Washington that apparently is bottomless, and for forever,
I know about the
people
hole.
have been throwing stuff in there. And
I
you
just
never hear
found
it
out
hit
about the
bottom.
hole for the first time last weekend. My wife and I were actually driving, and she mentioned the bottomless pit.
Apparently,
out
it's
in
hard
eastern
to find.
Washington. Crazy
Apparently, it's hard to find. Even Native Americans have been using the pit to throw things in for
Why not? Why not? We'll
Let's go
tell Mom
find-
Donnie about it. We can get rid of the garbage in New York City. That's going to do it for us today, my friends. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories and more exciting guests. You've been listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.